This is Women for Gun Rights with your host, Amanda Suffecool, part of the DCProject.
So, hey folks, welcome to Women for Gun Rights. I am so excited to be joining you again on another Friday night with another amazing gal from the DCProject. So, Staci Claunch comes to us from Arkansas. And so she's going to start to fill us in on what is going on in Arkansas. So, hey, Staci, thanks for joining us on Women for Gun Rights.
Well, hi, Miss Amanda. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and speak with you.
Oh, it is so nice to have you.
So, Arkansas, I would say that we're in a pretty good spot as far as our pro-gun laws go in Arkansas. We're pretty good sitting right now. I still see a few things trying to come down the pipe, and so I'm keeping an eye on those. Our assembly actually opens back up February 14th, and so I've reached out to some ladies with the DCProject here in Arkansas, and we're going to plan a trip up there to meet and greet some of our legislators and make sure things are going the way that we would like to see them go.
Well, that makes sense. And once you create that relationship, then they will know that you're the Second Amendment person to reach out to and to talk to and to communicate back and forth. So that's always such a good and successful thing. So, so what got you into Second Amendment advocacy?
Well, I would say being prior military, I'm a veteran myself, was in the Navy and the Army, served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so I've always been very patriotic, of course, and support my United States Constitution. And so really that's where my journey began, was military. And then I followed that up with, I worked for the government for several years as a civilian. And so I wouldn't say I grew up with guns, but from a very young age, being in the military, I've always been around guns. And so that's kind of where it took off before I got into my chapter, I should say.
Okay, well, let's go backwards and let's talk a little bit about switching teams in the middle there, going from the Navy to the Army or the Army to the Navy. How did that go about, and how did the folks in the other team think about it?
Well, my heart was always for the Navy, of course. My family, a lot of our family has been Navy, and so it was just, it was destined for me to go into the Navy. So I'm glad I did that. But after getting out of the Navy, I went to work for the Forest Service, the U.S. Forest Service, as a federal civilian. And I worked with a major there who was with an Army unit here locally. And he said, hey, why don't you come back in to our instructors unit? And I said, I don't know about that. I mean, that's apples and oranges. But I said, I missed it, of course. Especially once 9/11 happened, I really missed it. I wanted boots on ground. And anyway, I did a year in the Army Reserves, an instructors unit here locally. And I decided that I didn't want to deploy with the Army. Nothing against the Army. It was just so different for me, from the terminology, the uniforms, everything was different. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was not the Navy. So I did go overseas after that. Of course, I went to Baghdad in 2008 to work for headquarters, but I went as a civilian. And but I did work alongside a lot of our men and women in uniform.
How neat! That is neat. So, so when you went into the, what did you call it, the education portion in the Army, what were you training? What were you teaching? What were you educating with?
Well, it was an instructors unit. I was actually instructors, yes, ma'am. My MOS was a 42 Alpha, and so I was more of HR paperwork. But even as a paper pusher, as I call it, we still had to do everything that the other soldiers had to do, regardless of your job title. You still had to learn all of the weapon systems. get down in the mud, crawl with your rifle. And of course, that was a lot different than the Navy when I was in all white and high heels working for the commander. So, yeah, I had to do it all. I had to learn combat lifesaver, doing IVs on each other. And, but so I got to learn a lot of what I really did want to learn in the Navy that I just didn't get the opportunity to learn. It was really being a soldier and not just working in an office.
Mm-hmm.
So I am grateful for that.
Oh, how neat! That is neat. My family is both Navy and Marines, and so I get
Okay.
when they start talking the two languages and yeah, and throwing trash at one another, if you will. So,
Right. Well, my husband is former Marine Corps as well. So we have that mix in his family. His father was Marine Corps, and then of course me and my father are Navy. So it's always fun when we watch the Army Navy game, the football game, and you know, it's always kind of kind of like I don't know, the Patriots and the Chiefs or something. I don't know.
right, yeah.
It's pretty fun to watch. Yeah,
There's a lot of rivalry going on there. Yes.
there is. Yes.
It's great though. So then in 2017, you ended up being involved in what was formerly called the Well Armed Woman, but now is called Armed Women of America. Correct?
Correct.
And so,
Yes,
so what
correct.
was your journey? What got you there? How did you get involved in that organization?
Well, when I left the federal government, of course, I'm not one to just sit around, and so I was looking. Actually, I was looking for a hobby, um, to learn to become more proficient with firearms. And my husband and I and my father-in-law, we always would go to the range in Houston and shoot his guns. But I just, even though I had the prior military backing, I realized quickly I had no experience really when it came to firearms. And so I just, it was frustrating because I don't know, something in me, I thought, I want to find a group of women that I can learn with and not two Marines. And so I started just digging here locally to see what was out there for women.
Mm-hmm.
And I found the organization, the Well Armed Woman. And I thought, oh, this sounds like just what I'm looking for. Educate, equip, empower. Well, of course, there was not one in my city. So I reached out to them and they said, hey, do you want to start one? And I said, sure, why not? What do I need to do? So that's how that started.
Okay. Well,
And
yeah,
then
you
it just,
see,
once you drink the Kool-Aid,
exactly. You see a need, you fill the need, you drink the Kool-Aid. Okay, that makes sense.
that's right.
Yeah. So, so you started the chapter, and you've
Mhm.
got. So how's it going? This many years later.
Well, we're about to have our 5th year anniversary in this coming March. So that's a blessing. And even through COVID and rioting and whatnot, ammo shortages, we've stayed strong. We've had our ups and downs, of course, through the years. But overall, we're really stronger now than we've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
We have a pretty good large group of women that are really
Okay.
committed and come every month. So we're doing great.
Okay. So tell folks about what's a meeting like. What do you do? Where you when you go to the range? What is it? What is the Well Armed Woman? Or it's going to take me a while to get to the new name, the
Right,
Armed Women of America. Yeah.
right.
So I keep having to look at it because the Well Armed Woman just is something that we've all known for so long, and then the
That's right.
rebranding is always a little bit of a challenge to get into and then grow with. But what's a meeting look like?
So we try to vary it up every month. We do bring in some guest speakers. We do primarily keep it firearms related, but we really encompass every type of self-defense that you could think of. So we cover edged weapons, we cover self-defense, some hands-on. We have some guest speakers, a martial art come in and do some moves with us. Of course, we do gun cleaning, we do shotguns, rifles, first aid, CPR, And then we do some fun stuff like ladies fashion shows. We do some holster fashion shows. And gosh, we just did some journal making last month because of the weather, of course, just to kind of close it out. But next month we're going to do, well, this month I should say, we're going to get back on our safety. We like to start that out at the beginning of the year just because we have a lot of different skill sets in our group. So we like to cover safety again and just some range protocols and etiquette, what to expect when you come to the range.
Okay.
But it's we try to keep it pretty interesting.
When they come, is it 1 hour, 2 hours? How long is a meeting or a thing? And you know.
So our meetings are always 2 hours long, give or take a few minutes, but typically they're 2 hours long, standard. The first hour is an instructional hour that you will get a different type of training topic every month. And then the second hour, of course, is live fire shooting. We have used some simulator systems that are smokeless ranges that we use air pistols, and with a simulator system like laser ammo, we've used those before. But that's the normal is first hour educational, usually in the classroom. Yeah.
Now, is the range that you work with, is it indoors or outdoors, or do you guys move back and forth? How is that? Because it's so different to shoot at an indoor range than it is to shoot at an outdoor range.
Absolutely. Our range actually that we're at now is an outdoor range. It's an 88-acre range, and we just bought another 100 plus acres to expand.
Wow.
I'm actually on the board of the range, and so I'm over the women's venue. I'm the only female on the board, which is kind of neat in a way. It's kind of intimidating sometimes, but I'm really trying to grow the number of women that we have coming to our range out there. It's called Mountain Valley Sportsmen's Association, and it's a really premier range, one of the most premier ranges, I would say, across the state. We really have every type of venue possible out there. We do have classrooms with indoor plumbing, fans, air conditioning. So you're outside, but it's really, you're not just really roughing it. It's not really primitive so that you feel like you're just out there. It's a really nice range.
That is great. And what, more than doubling and heading for tripling the acreage of the range. What are you going to add in the upgrades or in the expansion?
Well, we have a planning meeting, a planning team, I should say, and that's still kind of in the works. There's been some talk about possibly a larger facility. I'm trying to get our ladies a bigger facility. We are jam-packed in the one that we have. We are wall to wall in that facility, and standing room sometimes. And so one thing on the plate for my building that I use is we're going to have an outdoor pavilion area built so that we can have some outdoor space, especially with COVID and things. And then hopefully enclose that and really double our size for our classroom. My outside area, my covered bay that I use, we have steel plates, dueling trees, all that kind of stuff. But that has been doubled in size as well to accommodate all the women that we have coming out there now.
So what is the group what do they think of your organization coming in and growing this many women coming to the sportsman organization?
So to be honest, the first couple of years were tough. It was predominantly men at the range, and of course on the board, and that ran the different venues out there. So when I did come back then, it was we got a lot of looks, some good, some just curious, but we kind of felt maybe we were in the way a little bit, like we were, So it took some time building rapport out there, and I guess letting those folks see who we were and that we weren't there to take over or anything, but just there to share in the sport. And before long, they started bringing their wives to us, and now they've welcomed us with open arms. I mean, I have the best group of folks out there that really they just roll out the carpet to my phone. I'm very fortunate,
That
compared
that's
to other ranges across the country. Yeah.
that's great. It really generally is that they want other people to enjoy the sport as much as they do. They just don't quite. They're like, okay, let me learn this. I speak French, now I'm going to speak German. It's just completely new.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is. They really have grown to love it though, and I get a lot of the gentlemen now volunteering and wanting to volunteer to run some of my bigger women's classes that come out there in the summertime. We get a very large group, both with Ladies on Target, which is another program that I run, and then the Well Armed Woman, or a woman, Armed Women of America. So we get, I know, see, I'm doing it too, Amanda. But we do get a lot of the gentlemen that are out at the range a lot. They love helping. They love seeing the women coming out and learning, and they really do. Um, so it's been a great transition, I guess. The whole experience, the whole mindset behind it is just completely flip flopped over the last few years.
Yeah, that's great. That is absolutely great. Now, I understand that you were at Gunsight Academy recently.
Oh, yes. I actually put in for a scholarship through the Women of America, and I got a 5-day 250 class, defensive pistol class at Gunsight. And so I went with some of my other Armed Women of America peers across the country. There was a group of us that actually went, and it was so exciting, very eye opening. I learned very quickly that my everyday carry gun, um, we broke up. I'll just put it that way. We broke up that week.
What was the gun?
And I had a Springfield XD Mod 2,
Okay.
which is a striker fire. It's got the back strap, safety on it. And so I shot that gun great here at the range, just out there plinking the gun. I thought I was just, John Wick. But then I get to gun sight, and it's so much quick, reactive, and just, I just found out quick. It was all over the place. And so luckily my friend had several uh, VP9s, and she's like, hey, do you want to try this? And I said, yes, because I just can't go on. And so anyway, that was a game changer. So I came home, and obviously I went shopping, you know, but I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't,
Oh.
I don't think people often realize that there's a difference in target shooting and defensive shooting, especially if they don't get to do that.
Oh, I agree with that. So did you buy a VP9 when you came home, or did you buy something else?
I bought a CZ Shadow,
Oh, okay.
actually. Um, so I've gotten into IDPA, which is competitive, international defensive pistol. Um, Love it. Like it's a whole new world to me. I'm going to try 3-gun, but I just decided that if I'm going to play with the big boys, I got to step up my game and invest the money to get the right equipment. And it has changed my game so much. It's just unbelievable. So that's my new baby. That's my new love. Is the
That
CZ.
that's amazing. I took the Gunsight 250 class with the SIG P365.
Oh.
And when I got there, they looked at me, they looked at my gun, and they're like, if you water it, it will grow. Right? uh,
Exactly. So you know what I'm saying. You know exactly what I'm coming from here. It's
I,
just,
I I do, and they tried to convince me to switch guns, and I was like, look, this is the gun that I carry, so I'd like
mhm.
to instead work on the skill set with that gun and see how I can do. And you know how they have the competitions on the daily basis to see, speed and accuracy, right?
Yes, yes.
So I'm accurate, but I'm not very fast. And so I spent the week working on speed to the point where I came home with the challenge coin at the end of it. And
Oh, wow.
I am more proud of that challenge coin than I am, I think, of my diploma, right? From engineering school, you know.
Hey, that is something to be proud of, let me tell you. Mine was the opposite, I think. I kind of felt like I had the speed, but the accuracy, because the lightweight gun. The polymer and just the frame, like you said, the shorter barrel and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, getting this easy. My gosh, I can hit a gnat off of a dog at 100 yards. Like, I felt like, oh my gosh, it really is. Sometimes it is the gun that you're using, I think, that makes a world of difference, really. So,
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, there's times when you find a gun that fits you and you know it. When you find it, it's like, okay, this is mine. Whatever that is.
yeah,
And so it's how we're all put together, and we're all different, and it really impacts how our firearms fit our hands and fit ourselves and fit our lifestyle.
exactly. And I, just like you, I wanted to master this course at Gunsight with my everyday carry. I thought, no, this is the gun I'm going to carry, that I need to be able to do this. And I just kept trying to push through it. And it really wasn't necessarily what I was doing. It just wasn't the right gun for me for that, what we were doing, like you say. And sometimes that can discourage people, and they either get scared of the gun or, maybe put it down and don't pick it up again. And
Right.
so it was a good lesson. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually scheduled to go to Gunsight again in October, and I'm going to take a full size gun this time, just because now that I've already done that, I'm gonna step up that
Yes.
just a little.
Well,
So
when I go back, yes, I'm going to do
yeah,
the same. I can assure you. Yes.
so I understand you're also a hunter. So tell me about that journey.
Well, it really didn't start. I didn't grow up hunting. My father, my mother, now I have some aunts. We think that I got that gene from them because I'm the only one in my immediate family that hunts, and I just love being outdoors. Um, and I guess several years ago, well, 6, 7 years ago, I decided to try my hand at deer hunting here on my property. We actually bought a bunch of property after we moved back from Texas, so I could hunt on my own property and fish. I have 2 stock ponds. I've always loved to fish. So I fish during the day and hunt at the same time. So I decided to just hunt, and I actually got my first buck out here. It was near Veterans Day. It was close to Veterans Day that year, but got the first buck on our property. And of course, I was addicted. I had it harvested. Of course, we ate it. And I've since been trying to really master those recipes, but that kind of started it. And so then it was game on. So my husband was like, okay, I'm going to get a bigger buck. So I kind of said, okay, I'm going to hang mine up and let you just hunt the property and stuff. So that's what we've been doing. But then Jen O'Hara and Narissa Harmon with Girls with Guns, I've gotten to know them through the past Well Armed Women conventions. And I buy a lot of their apparel, for hunting and shooting and whatnot. And they actually were looking for people to go hunting with them a couple of years ago, a mule deer hunt up in Wyoming. And so I put in for that and got a slot, and that was a blast. Oh my gosh. Now I'm just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm running out of wall space, but I tagged out on day one. I took this big box of ammunition, 708, took my Ruger up there, and yeah, day one, 374 yards standing, Amanda. This is like the stars aligned, okay? I have it
Right.
on video, so I'm not fibbing. I had a guide with me, and we had spot stalked all day, and we come up on this huge, well, there was 2 of them actually, and good 4x4 racks, legal huge racks, beautiful. Cows were coming across the pasture, and he just throws up his shooting stick, and he just said, I want you to aim high. And I thought, oh Lord, because my rifle was sighted at 200 yards, and I thought, I had only shot it once to sight it in. That's how bad this was. And I thought, aim small, miss small, whatever is what I'm thinking. So I aimed high, and lo and behold, I dropped him, and it was a good, clean kill. And so we didn't have to track him or anything. And anyway, and then last year, I went on their bear hunt to New Mexico, and of course that was a bucket list item. And I had this big brown bear in my sights, but we had dogs that were tracking them, and anyways, it got it got away from us. But the second day, I was actually able to harvest my first black bear. And so I'm still waiting on the pelt and the meat from that. So just super exciting. I mean, you talk about adrenaline rush. This bear, is in front of me up a tree. I'm standing on a mountain, literally a mountain, like just barely where you can stand. I don't even know how I was standing, honestly. And I'm shaking, my whole body's shaking. The bear starts to try to come down, and then I'm really, oh my God, oh my God. And I wanted to make a good hit, I don't ever want the animal to suffer.
Right.
And so, anyway, again, the stars aligned, and I was able to harvest him and her. It's a boar, but I can't wait to get the pelt back and the meat back. And my kids are super proud of me. They're just like, I can't believe Mommy got a bear.
Yeah.
So
Are you
I'm
gonna?
addicted.
What are you gonna do with the bear pelt? So it's hanging on the wall. Is it a rug? Is it?
I'm gonna. We have some high ceilings, and so I don't want my dogs to get to it. So I'm gonna hang it. I'm gonna rug it, but I'm gonna hang it. And I actually I was supposed to go to Maui in April this year, and yeah, that in itself is exciting, just going to Maui. But I was actually supposed to go on an axis deer hunt this April with them again, but my father is not doing well, and so I've had to actually move him in, and so I'm his caregiver right now, and so I had to decline that trip, which I was sad about, but there'll be more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a spot where family comes first, and then
Family first.
you figure it out. Yeah. Exactly.
That's right.
So, one of the things to our listeners, to our viewers, is that we ask you a couple topics that you want to talk about, and here's a couple topics that are near and dear to your heart. And one of them is, here's your statement, and then let's talk about this. In Arkansas,
Okay.
any veteran that seeks voluntary or involuntary mental health treatment, i.e., counseling, cannot have a CHCL unless the circuit court grants it. So if you go for voluntary counseling, then you can't get a concealed carry license.
Correct.
So, most of the states make it so that if you've been adjudicated as mentally defective, then you can't. But if you seek assistance, counseling, guidance on your own, it's not. So what made Arkansas make this like this, and how can you go about fixing it?
Well, I've actually wrote to Senator Cotton last year, and he's invited me to come up and speak with him. He's a veteran. He's really does a lot with veterans. I'm going to reach out to him for sure, and also speak to some of our legislators when I go up there in February, because it is working with women and training women is the only other thing that's close to a passion for me is standing up for veterans' rights. And I took this personally myself because there is a high number of suicide rates amongst veterans. I don't know any veteran, including myself, that hasn't been deployed, even stateside or overseas. They won't have some form of PTSD, number one. I mean, hardly, I'd say 9 out of 10 are going to have some form of PTSD, whether it's being away from home, whatever. And so we're basically the men and women that are fighting for our country. We're really right off the top. We're saying, well, since you went to counseling, it doesn't even matter what it's for. Maybe it's because I lost a loved one. But because I seek counseling, now I can't have my Second Amendment rights, but it's okay to have my gun to protect the country, but I can't protect my family when I get home. So, yeah, I'm not sure who and why and how that went through. I know I'm going to look into it more. I'm definitely going to advocate to get that rewritten or changed for certain, because that really bothers me personally.
Well, and when you look at counseling, counseling is such a big expanse. I mean, marriage
Hmm.
counseling and divorces and getting mental health treatment for your children and, family counseling. There's so many different things that it doesn't necessarily have to be that you're a threat to yourself, you're a threat to anyone else. It is that there's somebody else that is an expert in a field that you're not an expert in. That's what counseling is.
Right. Right, exactly. And we're here, we're always advocating, oh, let's prevent veteran suicide. Well, I can tell you now that a lot of veterans, they're not going to go see, once they find that out,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to just say, you know what? No, I'll just deal with it or whatever. It's kind of like the marijuana card issue. People find out, oh, well, if I get the marijuana card, I'll lose my gun rights. So I'll just keep taking opioids or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just think that it's not right at all. And I was so furious. I'm not kidding. And that's fairly new in our rules. And so I need to get with some folks and see what's going on with that. But I am going to find out.
Right.
I
So
could
so
promise
it's a
you.
new rule or a new interpretation of the
No,
existing.
it's
They just
no,
passed it.
it is new. It was last year that it came in because I
Hmm.
keep a pretty close eye on the rules and regulations
Mm-hmm.
for concealed carry in our state because I teach it all the time. And I thought, oh, here's one that got slipped in. And so, yeah, when I read it, I thought, wait a minute. I mean, I understand we've had some incidences out there where former military folks have done some horrible things, but you can't discipline every veteran. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Right.
it's like one person has a drunk driver, so does all of America now, have that same penalty? It just seems really unfair, and so I'm going to definitely fight for it, just for veterans for sure.
Well, and that makes sense. And the way that it's written here, it doesn't specifically say veterans. So it is they have done a broad brush to everyone. Um,
Hmm.
and so yeah, fight for us. We appreciate it very much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and then the other topic that you have that's near and dear to your heart is holding parents responsible for their children's conduct. So let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, there are kids who do bad things. There are parents who are irresponsible with firearms, and we hate that. So let's talk.
Right. Well, as a parent myself, um, it's number one on my priority because I can never be complacent one time. I mean, ever. That's all it takes, right? So I never allow myself that moment. When my firearm comes off my person, it is straight into a safe. Um, and I know people are going to say, oh, but there's that one time. No, that's the one thing you can never do. It's the one time you can never do it. Every time you think about it, you think about whose life that could take. I mean, you have to be that serious about it. Um, so, yeah, I think, a lot of these school shootings, I'm not saying it would solve anything, but I think we do need to hold parents more accountable for what their children are doing. And I just heard a story yesterday, I believe. My in laws are all from the Texas area. And my father in law told me about a 2-year old who had gotten a gun he was in the car, and this gun was lodged between the seat and the console. And his sibling was in the car as well. I think there was another child in the car with him. And then the mother was there. Well, the 2-year old shot the mother and shot the sibling because he's two. And he found this gun. And
Mm-hmm.
so they were both wounded. I don't think they're suffered
Mm-hmm.
life sustaining, but nonetheless, I don't know what's going on. I know there was a lot of flack on social media about, well, nobody got hurt, so no foul, no whatever,
Mm-hmm.
no, that's not how we should look at it. And I think that if more parents, we can give FFLs more strict guidance on, okay, make sure everybody gets a safe when you buy a gun. Well, that's not going to help when you get home, you know. But at the same time, I just think if we need to give stricter punishments for the parents, if they're going to have a firearm in their home, um, and their child gets a hold of it, if that's a child, just like anything else a child does, if my child gets in trouble and steals, they can't really do anything when he's a minor. And so, I'm responsible for my child while they're under my home. So,
So it should flow back
yeah,
on all the things that they do, not
correct.
specific to firearms, but you don't get a pass, and parents need to
That's
be
right.
responsible. Gun owners need to be responsible for where their gun goes and what their gun does all the time when it's not with them. And so
Correct.
causing irresponsible gun owners to understand that they do have a responsibility I think
Hmm.
that's part of the education process. I'm not a fan of government overreach and the government mandating a
Right.
variety of things, but I do think responsibility and personal responsibility is key. It's like I think that
Hmm.
everyone who has a concealed carry license should be encouraged and should go get continuing education. Um,
Hmm.
you know, at the same time, I think that when you have a gun, you should be safe with it and lock it up and be careful with it. It's sort of like when somebody says, "Well, well, what about this? What about that?" Well, no, you don't give the keys to your Ford Explorer to your 6-year-old. So you don't give them
Right.
access. You don't let them play in the knife drawer. You
That's right.
protect them from all the things that they could access that could hurt them. And you're
Exactly.
responsible to make sure of that.
Yeah, and you hear people say, "Oh no, my child has learned from a young age not to touch guns, and we teach them what these are and all this stuff." Well, it's still a child, and like you said, you don't leave your car keys in your kid's backpack, or
Right.
especially a toddler for that matter. I mean,
Mm-mm.
I'm sorry, but a 2-year-old got a gun.
No,
You're going to blame guns on that? No, that's not guns. That's not gun stores.
that's
That's
parenting.
you, mom.
Hmm.
That's parenting. Yes. So,
Right.
yeah, that's a touchy subject with me just because
Well,
I have kids.
it sounds like personal responsibility should be the mantra that you're tagging there,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
exactly. Yes.
So okay. Well, what do you want our viewers or listeners to know about you, about not the well-armed woman, the armed women, the armed women of America, about the DC project, just kind of in general.
Well, I always strive to teach as many people as I can. I really try to not judge people that are anti-gun or maybe haven't grown up with guns. I have folks like that in my family. I just try to educate people. I know that's kind of what we always talk about, but truly just listen to them and see their feelings about it. And because a lot of times it's just misguided or the unknown. Um,
Hmm.
so I guess really I'm just trying to make people feel comfortable. The folks that I meet, I meet a lot of men and women of all ages, different stories. And so I just, uh, I just enjoy the teaching process and getting to know their stories. I definitely want to continue protecting our Second Amendment rights, which is why I got involved with the DC Project. Um, these women are doing fantastic things, just unbelievable. And I tell the ladies I work with or train with that, hey, we got to focus on these gun rights because if that goes away, all of these fun chapters and shooting things go away. So
Hmm.
we need to spend as much time getting educated about what's coming through our system, what's
Hmm.
getting passed, and try to make a change. So I think that's just number one on my priority right now is just trying to be a voice for the state that I'm in,
Hmm.
educate people, give people the motivation to stand up and do what's right. But I am a mama to 3 kiddos, and my husband's super supportive. We've been married 14 years now, And so I couldn't do all this without him. And anyway, I love what I do.
Well,
I'm thankful to
it's
be here
great.
tonight, Amanda.
You're a NRA certified, USCCA certified, so you not only walk the walk, you talk the talk, you kind of do it all. So continuing education, you train,
Yes.
you work with everybody. I mean that's really the key, is to keep honing your skills and then sharing those skills with others. And so
Yes.
I think
I
that
continue.
go ahead.
I was just going to say I do try to always get out of my comfort zone and keep training. Like my good friend Karen Whitlock, I cannot keep up with her, but I want to. I live through her. She's my spirit animal. No, but I try to take as much training as I can, and different disciplines too, not just pistols, but I built my own AR from scratch. Um, like I said, if I'm going to teach it, I want to learn it. I don't want to just YouTube it. And so it challenges me and it gives me more self-esteem and drive to do it. So yeah, I try to take as much training as I can. You can always learn something,
Oh
always, no
man.
matter,
Yeah,
I sound like a mom, but it's
I
true.
took an AR class with Chris Serino, and he had me
Hmm.
practically standing on my head shooting, because he was teaching us how, if we needed to shoot under a car, what our stance would be. And so it was kind of like a combination between shooting and yoga, but but it was pretty amazing.
Pilates, yeah. Hey, you never know. I mean, you
Hmm.
never know. I mean, I do, yeah, everything I possibly can. Well, it's getting harder the older I'm getting, but yes, and I've got some ladies in their 80s that they can do some moves. They really try to get down and do what they can do. And I tell them, unless it's lightning, we're gonna train like we fight. So we get out there, rain, snow, shine, you name it,
Hmm.
and train and try to be as realistic as we can. We're not just hitting paper and throwing lead. We really try to do some defensive drawing from cover and moving and mag changes, and I mean, and that's what they want to do. They want to
Hmm.
see that John Wick stuff, and put it to use.
And
So
try
yeah,
it. Yeah,
so
that
it's,
makes
yes.
that's pretty cool. So, I know that a lot of our gals are headed to Shot Show to Vegas in a week and a half, 2 weeks. Are you gonna be headed that direction, or are you keeping the home fires burning?
I'm keeping the home fires burning right now because of my father.
Oh yeah.
I had said I had got in there to do it. I'm sad that I'm going to miss some of my ladies out there, and I know they're going to be fantastic. I'm super proud of what they're doing. I wish I could be there with them, but I just really thought it best that I stay here and
Hmm.
see how the next month or so is going to play out. So, yeah, I'm not going to be able to make it.
Well, there
I'm
you
hoping
go.
I get to go to the match this summer, the
Oh
three
yeah.
gun match in Missouri. I'm hoping. We'll see. Yeah.
Since I missed the Gainesville event, I fully understand where you're
Oh,
at right now. That killed me to
I
uh,
know.
to stay home with the bug, if you will.
But
So,
yeah, I know. Well, it was amazing. It really, I learned so much about what I could do and just how to be a voice, and then just getting to meet all these women from across the country, putting a face with a name, and just picking their brain and some things that they're doing in their states. And I mean, it lit my fire, I'll tell you. It really did. And I hope we get to do that every year because it was fantastic.
well, you need to talk to Diana about that, because she's like, well, we'll do it when we're in DC, and we'll see.
I know. I hope we get to go to DC. We'll see.
Yeah.
If we do get to go, depending on what Sarah finds out or whatever, I hope we get to. But I'm sure if we don't, we'll work around it. But
We'll
yeah,
work around it.
I'm definitely going to be there for that. Yes.
Okay. Well, folks, I do want to reintroduce you to Staci Claunch, and she is, as you can
Hello.
see, the DC Project state leader from the state of Arkansas, and just all the other amazing stuff that she's doing, that she's seeing, that she's involved in, and that's really the key. Is you see a void, you see a need, you see a vacuum, and get off the sofa and do it, and you will be so much better for it. So with that, we're going to say goodnight. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you again next Friday.
Thank you, Amanda.
Is Women for Gun Rights with your host, Amanda Suffecool, part of the DC Project.